Welcome everyone and thank you for joining. This is the first of a series of webinars that focuses on empowering non-technical users to create their own applications viable for their processes and their decision making without having to write any code. My name is Sheldon Bloom. I am can we change the slide moment, please? My name is Sheldon Bloom. I'm a solution consultant at Folio3, and I'll be your host throughout this series of webinars. One of the key components of my role as a solution consultant focuses on acting as the bridge between the development team and our business users, and that's what we're going to focus on today. We're going to be joined today by a guest speaker. Our guest speaker today is Mahmoud Marchand. He's a chartered accountant in England and Wales, and he has a lot of experience as a global CFO, in addition to digital transformational leadership. Today, what Mahmoud is going to demonstrate is how, in natural language, he was able to describe an application that he required for his team to improve the collection process. And so what we're going to see today, and what I would expect as an output as a solutions consultant, is that Mahmoud is going to describe in natural language. We're going to feed it into AI. What I would expect to see is a nice database, organized master data, a user interface so that my users can go ahead and interact with that data, and everything else that we need and that AI should create it for us straight away. And we would use these for driving our business processes and our decisions. Before I hand it over to Mahmoud, one thing I would ask is that if you have any questions, if you could please throw them in the chat box. We will have some time for questions throughout this webinar, and we will review some afterwards. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to my friend Mahmoud. And yeah, let's have some fun.
Great. Thank you so much, Sheldon. Can you all hear me clearly? Hopefully my audio is clear. Excellent.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. So let's get going. So the project that we're going to tackle today from a finance perspective is to tackle the collections nightmare, right? So common pain point that all finance teams face is to collect cash from customers. It's easy enough to make sales, but it's always a nightmare to go after your customers, send them chasers, kind of follow up on all kinds of communications, WhatsApp messages, emails, and kind of keep track of everything. And then, we end up having lots of spreadsheets where we are tracking all of that stuff. We're getting downloads from our ERP system if we have any, and it tends to become a bit of a nightmare. However, it is also something that is critical in terms of the impact on cash flow. So it is an important area that does take up a lot of time of finance teams. It's something I have seen in my own role with my own teams, and it's something that a lot of people bring up as something they would love to tackle. And some people have good ERP systems in place, so they can kind of tackle it that way. But again, there is a lot of stuff that tends to happen outside those ERP systems, based on my experience. So this is kind of a topic that we selected as something that we will try and tackle with a new technique called vibe coding. Now, you may have heard of this term. It is kind of frequently now quoted on LinkedIn posts as well. So vibe coding, in a sense, is a bit of a misnomer. It is targeted at people who can't code, who don't code. So let's say people like myself, right? What I know is what I need in terms of the business requirement. I know what kind of solution I need, but I cannot write code to actually get it done. So this is a new approach which lets business users like myself and like yourselves to actually create an application through simple English language. And you can actually use your own language as well. If you speak some other language, you can try French or Italian or whatever, right? So all these AI tools are very language friendly. They're very multilingual. But it's literally just explaining to this tool what you need in a certain way that I'm going to demonstrate. And then it goes away and interprets your commands, and then it builds something, shows it to you, and then it lets you tweak it. And that's literally what vibe coding is. So it is actually very revolutionary in terms of coding. Typically, as Sheldon would explain as well, it takes a long time for these kind of products to be defined, to be handed over to developers, to designers who create UI, and then they come back to the developers who implement it. So there's a kind of long time frame in getting these things done. But now with vibe coding, you will see, how easy that situation has become. The tool we're going to use is called Base44. It's one of several tools which are out there. There's Replit, which is quite famous. I think you may have kind of heard of it on social media. Lovable is another famous one. Base44 is also out there. It is quite prominent, but it is not as famous as the other two. But the reason we've chosen Base44 is it has, in terms of comparing it with other tools, and we have tried various tools, Base44 seems to be performing really well in terms of doing exactly what I said, understanding the requirements that we put to it, and actually coming up with a product that is usable, that it has been tested correctly from the get-go, and we will see all of those things. So that's why we've chosen Base44, but the techniques that you will see in this webinar are applicable to Replit, Lovable, and lots of other tools like that which are hitting the market. So what we're going to do is build a collections app. Not only are we going to use AI to create the app, because these vibe coding tools are clearly based on AI, but we will also try and incorporate the use of AI within the application to generate reminder emails. So it would be really nice, if the reminder emails are personalized to the customer based on the DSO, based on the risk profile, right? All those things. So that would be really nice if a draft email is generated by this tool, and then all we have to do is copy and paste it. And as we'll see, it is also possible to link it to automation systems, but that's obviously not something we're going to be doing in this webinar. So what we will try and do is build something that tracks outstanding invoices and customer data. It creates an aging dashboard and allows us to do these emails, right? And then we'll see what we come out with, because sometimes these AI tools can add some additional features which are nice to have, and that's always a pleasant surprise. So we'll see what we get here. So let's get started. I will switch to Base44, which is where we're going to be building this tool, and then we'll take it from there. So let me first show you Base44. This is what the tool looks like, right? And one approach which is typically used is to literally go in here and describe. It actually says this, right? Describe the app you want to create. So you would typically go to such a tool and start to type in what you need. And that's fair enough. That actually works. That's how the tools have been designed. And then they will interpret what you say and come out with a design. But what we have found in our testing, that there is a better approach to use rather than going directly to Base44. And that is first to go to something like ChatGPT, right? And ChatGPT is something that I think we're all familiar with now. We all use that. So it is actually a good idea to go to ChatGPT, give it a role, right, to kind of fine-tune its brain to be focused on what we want it to do, and then ask it to create something which is called a super prompt or a meta prompt, and tell it that we need it for Base44. So now ChatGPT will use its own learning and intelligence and create something for us that we go and paste in Base44, right? So that's exactly what I'm going to start doing now. So I will say act as an expert software developer and design expert, okay? You can just kind of write it in any way you want. Create a super prompt that I can paste in Base44 vibe coding tool that will build the following app for me, okay? And then I can kind of start typing what the app is going to be about. However, one other thing that I'm going to do here, which will be interesting, is if we think ahead, once we build the app, we will want to bring in our own data inside it, right? So this is also another great advantage of using ChatGPT, is you can attach a CSV file, right, of sample data, of let's say customer data, And if you do it at this stage, and this is not something you can do in base 44, it will not accept CSV attachments. You can attach a CSV file here, and the super prompt will actually then define your data structure in a way that when the app is built, you can import data into it as well, right? So we're going to do that. So consider the data structure based on the attached CSV file such that I can import this data when the app is built. Please ensure date formats and currency formats are handled correctly, because this is kind of a common area where things can go a little bit wrong. So it's always a good idea to just instruct the prompt engine to do that correctly. Okay, so that's kind of the the meta instructions, if you like. These are things you can just kind of try and place at the beginning, and then you can come out with what you need in terms of the actual project you're trying to build. So in this case, I want an app that tracks AR, customer data, DSO, aged debts, and other useful APIs, including, okay, and it should be able to generate AI-enabled emails based on customer risk and amount owing. Okay, something like that. You could refine it till the cows come home, right? But we can actually just go with this. So I'm not even kind of reading it again to review it too much. I'm just going to hit send, and we'll see what we get, right? And you will see that ChatGPT itself is going to kind of refine this, come out with a nice definition of what the project should be like, and then we will be able to paste that straight into base 44. Oh, right, excellent. I forgot to attach the CSV file. Brilliant. So let me just do that, and we'll be off to the races. Okay, so that's my file. So that's something I should have done here, but no worries. And I'm going to inform ChatGPT, file attached now. And then here we go. Okay, so it's inspecting the CSV file, and then it's generating the schema, which is kind of, the data structure, which you don't have to worry about. It's not something you need to kind of, get your head around. The idea is that the CSV has data, and now it is going to be incorporated in the prompt that is being generated. So we're just going to scroll down and have a look. So it's coming up with all of this stuff. You can probably recognize some of these things as meaningful columns in a spreadsheet, right? Aging 31 to 60 days, 61 to 90 days, 90 plus. These are getting to be bad debts. So there are columns in the spreadsheet that we uploaded, and these are the columns which are getting incorporated. Okay, and then it's just building out the whole thing. So I'm just scrolling very quickly. I will come back to this prompt and we will look through it, but we'll get the process going in base 44 and then come back here. Okay, so it's still writing the whole meta prompt or super prompt. And just kind of eyeballing it, you can see that, there's a lot of detail, right? It would be impossible to think of all these things to put in. And if you started with base 44, you would miss out on many of these things. So I would just kind of, because it's offering other things, so I would just go from here and just go up to where it begins. Okay, and it's right here. So I'm literally going to copy it, go to base 44, paste it here. Okay, so that's this whole bunch of text which we got from ChatGPT. And I'm going to get it going, right? So now it's started. It's going to take a few minutes. So the initial step that does take, several minutes. So while it's doing it, so the first thing it does is it plans its next steps, and it's going to list them here. And then it starts to actually execute on them. But while we are waiting, and it's already started to plan it out, right? You can see it's saying, okay, these are the key features, design language, app organization, and then it's building it. So while it's doing it, we'll go back to the prompt and look at it a bit more carefully so we know what to expect. So this is, so we'll just skip the data schema. Okay, that's kind of more technical, and the CSV parsing. So then it's determined what kind of business logic it needs, right? So it says that, okay, these are the kind of calculational things it's going to have. So it gives you an idea on what business logic is going to be driving this application. And you can, of course, tweak it, right? You can just kind of at this stage, tweak it and change it if you wish, even though there's lots of opportunity to do it later. So I would suggest just go with what gets suggested, build something out, look at it, play with it, and then you can kind of refine it further. It has UI layout and components. So it says top left, this is the application name. It even suggests a name, and you can obviously give it any other name now or later. It says what should be on the dashboard. So again, we just said I want to dashboard with good KPIs, right? But it's coming up with specifics so that base 44 gets to a running start. It has specific things that it knows it needs to build rather than using its own intelligence, which it does have as well. I mean, see that. AR ledger, customer table, detail panel. So obviously, if I click on a customer, I'll expect to see some detail for each customer. So all of that is being defined in very specific bullets. The email batch composer, that's where the AI generated emails are going to be there, right? And as you can see, it's even kind of creating options for batch sending using SMTP, which is a technical term for sending emails. I didn't define that. I'd never mentioned that, but it's kind of thinking ahead to what we might need and building those things in. So this is a really useful approach to start from ChatGPT, because you will start to see a lot of good stuff come in, which many of those things you'll want to keep anyway, right, in the application, and you would have then thought of them later. So this is on the AI email generation, on kind of how it's going to do it. This is the prompt it's going to send, right? So the application is going to send a prompt to the AI when it's running, and actually generate the email. So it's showing you what prompt that's going to be. So you could even tweak that, right away or later. So again, it's, when you get this prompt, it's worth just looking through it to see what kind of things it's going to build, what kind of things make sense. Maybe there could be some element of, you probably have heard the term hallucination when the AI comes up with stuff that, is completely off. If that happens, if you notice something that has just gone off on a tangent, you can just correct that. But usually when you give it a specific requirement, it stays within the context of that. And it really helps to give it the role. If you give it the role at the beginning, that act as an expert software developer, and this is the domain of AR and collections, then it tends to stay within that domain. Email content examples, it's got kind of some templates, which are, I think, just placeholders. If the AI doesn't have anything returning back, then security permissions. So it's already, we never mentioned any roles, but it knows there needs to be an admin. It knows there needs to be a collections agent, right? A viewer, perhaps an auditor, right? Who can just have view access. So again, it's taking decisions which are pretty reasonable, but you can tweak them, and you can tweak them later as well. So these are the kind of things that this prompt, the super prompt, has come out with. Then it's got various things here, LLM integration. Some things are going to be technical, so don't worry if you don't understand everything in here. But it has been written in a way that it is understandable for base 44. And that's why we specified right in the beginning that create a super prompt for base 44. If you're using some other tool, you would just, specify that other tool, and ChatGPT would then give you something like that. Okay, and then it says, okay, these are the deliverables. So it is, it is very specific. Then it has some recommendations. So we'll see what it does with that, and then some final note. Okay, so now let's have a look as to what is happening here. So this is the plan that base 44 came out with. It said these are the key features it's going to implement, which sound right based on what our initial intent was and what we saw the ChatGPT prompt say. A design language, professional business application. So this is kind of color coding, right? It's just planning these things out. And of course, all these things are changeable. We can later on just prompt it in English and say, I don't like this color scheme, use another one, right? So all these things are doable, but it's already decided that it wants to do certain things. And then it starts to create various things, and it is continuing. So we have to just give it a few more minutes, and it's gonna do that.
Hey, Mahmood, while we're waiting, I have a couple of questions that came in earlier. Can we go ahead with that? So one of the questions we have is, are we is it mandatory to use ChatGPT? Because I
It's
have
not. It's not.
used ChatGPT. They use Gemini or whatever.
Correct. Correct. Yeah. So ChatGPT is a really good one. But there are other LLMs, as you rightly said. There's Perplexity, there's Gemini, and people can use any other LLMs as well. In fact, it is probably a good idea to try a couple. Just have a couple of windows open, try the same prompt in two LLMs, compare the results, right? Because one of them may resonate more with you. You may feel, yeah, this is capturing the essence of what I want to build. The other one is maybe going a little bit kind of, on a tangent or becoming too ambitious or maybe not ambitious enough, right? It depends on what you're really after. So it's worth getting a couple of, it's like, going to a couple of specialists to get an opinion, right? On a medical issue. So you just kind of get a couple of opinions on, what the super prompt should look like. And then you pick the best one that resonates with you and then take it forward and paste it in base 44 and hit enter. So you could do that. You could also create two projects. So you could start one project, paste one prompt, and you could then, start a parallel project and paste the other prompt and see what results come out. Because the beauty is it takes so little time, relatively speaking, to get your end result that you are in a position, right, to just have a couple of projects that try and do the same thing and just compare the results and see, how they look, and then just take the best one forward.
Yeah. And another one that came in had to do with mistakes. As we start off with new tools, we always make mistakes. What are common mistakes that you see when developing these super prompts? Like for me, sometimes I dig too deep and I get far more than I need. Alternatively, I might be too ambiguous and I'm really not getting what I want. So how do we balance that? What are the key mistakes that these beginners make, and how can we help resolve that?
Sure. So I think one of the things that beginners often do, because the vibe coding tools encourage that, is just to go in the tool and start defining what you want, right? Which is not something that wouldn't work, but that tends to give you a partial result based on whatever you've entered, and then you have to think of the next feature, which can be fine if you're not sure what you want, right? But if you have a fairly good idea of what you want, then you should really generate a super prompt. And if you have a fairly good idea of what you want and you go with the other route of just entering, a small paragraph, then it can get frustrating. However, if you're not sure, if you just have a very broad idea and you just want to kind of explore what is possible, then, you can just go with the route of just having a short prompt and going from there. The other thing is on the data side, right? So one thing that people would do is they can maybe generate a super prompt and create the application, get to the end of it, and then realize, yeah, now this is looking wonderful. I would like to import that wonderful, sort of 1,000 record CSV that I have, right? 1,000 row CSV. And then they want to create that feature. And then it gets a little bit tricky because now they have to somehow explain to the product, to base 44, what are the columns in that spreadsheet. So they have to go to the spreadsheet, and base 44 will not let you actually upload the CSV. So it gets a little bit kind of tricky there. So if you have that CSV, if you know what you need, it is much better to actually upload it upfront in ChatGPT as we did, because then your prompt actually incorporates that, right? So it knows, and everything it builds is with that knowledge built in from the first moment it starts executing. So that's usually kind of something that people often, they don't do, and they realize later on that they should have done something like that. And it's definitely worth thinking of data right, from the get-go.
Thank you. Thank you. We have time for another question. We do. So is it better for us to go ahead and develop a whole bunch of little applications? And if we do, can we bulk them into one user interface so that other users can leverage different portions of those different dashboards?
Yeah. So that's possible in one of many ways. So, you could have an application that's got different sections, and you can have roles that let different people access those different functions, and they could be independent. I mean, it doesn't have to be on one theme. You could actually create an application which has multi-tools in it, right? It's a bunch of tools, and every tool is for a different audience. You could do it that way, but it's probably a good idea to have separate tools built with separate prompts. And then you can create kind of logins for the same, or for the relevant set of users, so they can access whichever tools they have, and just create a dashboard that just has a link to them. So I think there are different ways to skin that cat. But I think we've seen some results come through on this,
To you.
which is interesting. So this is that magical moment, right? If you haven't experienced this before, and it's the first time you see it, it's like, wow, just out of some simple text instructions, we see something that starts to look pretty decent, right? Now, I know it's zero, there's no data there, and you're kind of wondering what's going on here, but I'll explain that in a moment. But I'll just explain some of the things that have happened here. So while it was building, if you notice, it was putting some green ticks. So this is stuff it was trying to do, just writing code on the back end, right, under the hood. And then some things have this red kind of icons here, right, which clearly means something did not go right. So then it automatically went ahead and fixed it. So it noticed some errors were detected, and base 44 will try and fix them automatically. So that's the other thing you will notice with these AI-enabled tools, that they will make mistakes in what they do, but they will often recognize them, especially when they are kind of coding mistakes, and fix them themselves, right? So all you have to do is just kind of, be a bit patient, let it finish, let it get to a point where you have something that you can use. However, the other kind of common mistake people make, because it's very tempting, so let me even kind of do that, is start clicking around, right? So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to see all of these things which look nice. Import CSV, very tempting to import. However, it is usually a good idea to do two things, right? One is at this point to click on discuss. So what this does in base 44 is that it will not take your next instruction as a build command. It will take it as a discussion. It's going to be like a mini ChatGPT. It's going to just answer your question. And the question I'm going to ask is, what is pending to be built from my initial prompt, right? So I'm just going to put that. Okay, and the reason is that sometimes, depending on, again, like we saw some errors that were fixed, it's possible that base 44 did not actually build everything that we asked it to do, or what that super prompt asked it to do. So this will just give us an idea on what is built and what is pending, and then we can take a decision on whether we want the pending stuff built right away or whether we want to leave it, right? So if we just go up, it very quickly answers that question. Okay, that's a great question. Already built data schemas, CSV import, computation, and logic. And you will recognize these headings from the super prompt in ChatGPT, right? So just kind of saying all of the stuff that you instructed me to do, I have done all of these things. So I'm interested in what is pending. Okay, so UI layout and components, top right controls, aging matrix, AR ledger table, customer detail panel. I want all of these things. I want my email composer, right? That's like not optional. I really need it. Business logic, all of these things, right? So it actually hasn't built everything, right? Which is why it's important to ask this question, and then you can take a call, right? You can say build everything else, or you can say build 1 and 5 and not 3 and 4. I'm actually going to be ambitious, and I'm going to say build the remaining features, right? Let's see how that goes. Okay, simple. Build remaining features. You don't have to kind of, really list them out if you want all of them built. Okay, while it's doing that, let me just point this out. So revert this, you will see this kind of a little, tag in earlier prompts as well. And what it does, it lets you go back. So suppose, the result of my next command is something that I don't like, something gets messed up, then I can just click this and it's going to roll back to that point. So it's like kind of an undo button, right? And that's very useful as well, because that can happen sometimes. Again, this is AI, it's non-deterministic. The results you get, will be sometimes different to what you expect. So you can easily go back one step and again, go forward with maybe more precise commands or something else. So this is, again, a very useful thing. You'll find it in other vibe coding tools as well. And it's just planning the next steps to build these things out. While it's doing it, let me just show another interesting feature. So you have this visual edit feature here, right? If you click it, it will let you go in and edit any of these things right here. So for instance, let's say I don't like the name of the application. So I can just click it, right? And I can click on T for edit content, AR control. So I can call it, what should we call it? AR collections, perhaps. Okay, as simple as that. And I just click outside and it's just edited. So anything that is visual and you want it fixed, you can just literally choose visual edit and you can start making these changes and it's going to remember them, right? So while it's working, it's also kind of noting that you want to make these visual changes and it's doing that. And once you're done with that, you can just click it again and take that off. So that's another kind of useful thing that you can do. Another thing in terms of the features of Base 44 is you can upload files here. So you can click this and this can be useful if you want to give it some kind of a design. So for instance, if you have a favorite kind of user interface, you maybe used to Monday.com or ClickUp or Basecamp, some of those kind of very popular project management tools, and you would like this application to have that look and feel, you can actually do that, right? You can actually say to Base 44 that attached are screenshots from an application, or literally you can even give it the name in the prompt, because some of the popular applications, it will actually know what they are and it will go visit them, look at the design, and then come back and try and give you something similar. So that's also worth trying. We won't do it here, obviously, in this webinar, but this is something that you can also try. And it can be quite useful to give you exactly the kind of application you're looking for in the manner that you would enjoy using it, right? So that's also a very interesting thing that's possible. Okay, so that's being worked on. Once it finishes all the features, then it will we will actually ask it to do some testing. And if you're wondering, like, where's the data and when do we upload the data, what we will do is we will do the testing, and the testing would always populate the data, right? Because even if you're testing the application, you would feel the need to add your own data. But it's usually a good idea to get that done by the Base 44 application itself. But we'll just wait for the features to come in. Sheldon, any other questions that you have?
I knew that it was going to come in because we have I have tech leaders on the line. So the big question is that can I integrate? Can we teach it to integrate with my ERP system, my QuickBooks, my Business Central, my D365 F&O? And if so, what security protocols are in place in order to protect that data?
Right. So integrations are possible, right? So any application that has what is called a REST API, which the techies would understand, those are open standards of connectivity, which all these ERPs do have. Then that is easily connectable to any wipe-coded application. And the way you would do it is you would again literally speak to it in English, and you would say, I would like to connect my customer data or my AR data, my invoices to be connected to my NetSuite application. Or whichever, D365 or whichever QuickBooks, right? And then it would guide you because it knows those applications. It would guide you as to what API key you would need to supply. It would then ask you the right questions regarding what tables within those ERPs you need to access. And the security side, on the one side, it would be handled through authorizations on the ERP itself, right? So the right users have it. And then on this side, of course, you would have the roles that you would set up. So you would make sure that the person who can actually import data, if it is not automated and somebody has to click a button to get a pull from NetSuite, for instance, and that person is not any end user, but it is somebody who's got the right authority to do so. So again, the authority and the permissions is both on the ERP side and on this side. And that's the kind of thing where you would need a bit of expertise. You would need some experts to come in and kind of handhold and help you do that, to take a wipe-coded app to its full potential. But it's definitely possible, and that's something that people do.
So so for my development team, they don't have to worry that they're going to be losing their work. They're still quite valuable in finalizing the engineering if necessary, integration, scalability, managing projects. So again, this is certainly does not eliminate a developer. But what it does do is it puts us in a position whereby we can go ahead and use this internally ourselves. And then when we go ahead and expand into other systems, then we get the developer more involved to ensure that we're protecting all of our data and that it's effective and accurate throughout. So that makes total sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So I think it's built all our features. It's confirming that as well in the comments. So, so aging heat map, enhanced AR ledger, updated dashboard, And now is the time where we are going to ask it to test itself. So can you comprehensively test all parts of the app so that I can start using it with my own data? Okay. So again, just normal language, there's no kind of magic. It's not some kind of specific words in a specific order. Even though this is a technology project, we're building a software application, but you can just word it whichever way you want. And you will find that the AI underlying base 44 will understand your intent, right? As long as it's not ambiguous, you can kind of word what you want in any way you wish. So now it is going to test this dashboard, and we will see it populate some data as it does that as well. And testing is really important, right? I mean, if you speak to your colleagues in the kind of IT department, they will tell you that testing is always a big deal. If you don't test properly, you're going to leave bugs for the end user. And here we are the end users, right? We're building something that we wish to use. And it's really important that there aren't bugs which corrupt the data or which cause problems down the line. While it's doing that, one other thing I can point out is if you don't like anything visual, right? Now I don't see anything which is erroneous. I'm trying to see if there's something that we would like to fix. So if we go in, let's say we go in high risk, okay. So if there was something that kind of we didn't like the look of, we could just take a picture of it, right? Like a screenshot, paste it in here, and ask it to fix itself. So let's have a look, because we did ask for a mobile responsive app, if you remember from the initial prompt, right? So let's see if it is mobile responsive. Okay, it's got a scroll bar here, and the button is kind of all over the place, right? So what I'm going to do while it's kind of doing the testing is I will take a screenshot of this. You can see the data is starting to populate based on the testing. So I'm just going to paste that screenshot, okay? And as they say, right, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Honestly, that works very well with all these tools as well. Just take a picture of the problem and just put in a few words to explain that. So what I'm going to say is that this does not look good for a mobile user. Can you fix, please, right? So notice I'm not really specifying, or can you, make sure the scroll bar like is 50 pixels or 200 pixels, none of that kind of gobbledygook. It's just, again, plain language. It is just telling it that, I want this to work nicely with a mobile phone, right? And as you can see, the tool itself is built to support different views. So I'm switching back to a desktop view. And so therefore, it can handle that. Okay, so I'm just going to send that. Okay, as you can see, we have data now in our application. The data has come in because we asked base 44 to comprehensively test the application. And testing means you have to add data, you have to do various tasks to make sure that everything is working properly. So we have all these things here in here. The first thing I would like to do while it is building the fixes for the mobile view is I can still go in. So I'm going to go to a critical customer, Global Tech, being very naughty. They're not paying us, right? So this is, you can see that 90 plus days, 40,000. They owe a lot of money, and a lot of it is really, really old debts. So they need an email from us. So we're going to try and draft that email. Remember, we wanted AI-powered emails. So now this is the time to try it out. And urgent escalation notice, that's what we need. Generating email. Let's see what we get. So while it is fixing something on the left pane, as you can see, still thinking and working on a mobile fix, it is still letting us use the application. So now, given the testing has happened, we can see that it's come up with a nice email. It says it's got an urgent tone, urgent to remind you, right? And it's a reasonable draft, right? Now we can kind of say, okay, you know what? I would like a button to regenerate it. Maybe I would like another draft, right? It's all right, but I like to see if there can be another draft. Maybe it will actually do it here. Otherwise, we can create a regenerate button. I think we'll probably do it here. Okay, it's also reloading the whole thing because Right. So I'm just clicking that again. It's going to generate a polite reminder because it refreshed the page based on this fix it's making. So this is a polite reminder. Now, if you just want to do a more stern one again, an urgent one, then I would just click that button again. And if you remember, there was a prompt, like a prompt to AI to generate these emails. That was part of the super prompt, right? So that's what's actually going out and generating these emails. So that's something that we have. Suppose we needed a copy button, right? I know you can just kind of go and copy it, but suppose we did, then that's something I could ask. So I could just say, again, I can even specify where I want it. So I can say right here. So I'm going to say, can you please add a copy button so I can paste the draft in my email client? Okay. This idea of taking little screenshots to explain that's a really powerful technique, right? I use it all the time, and I think once you get the hang of it, this will be a really powerful time saver because it just avoids you having to explain everything very specifically. And I would expect, I would kind of hope that it would get the point that I would like the button to be here by me taking a screenshot. But we'll see. Let's see what happens. And if it doesn't give me what I need, obviously I can just ask it to fix it. So that's something. So we've done the testing, we built all the features, we've done the testing, we're doing minor tweaks, right? At this point, if I thought of another feature, for instance, suppose I wanted to integrate this with an email system in my company, obviously with the blessings of the IT folks, I would connect it. I could give it an instruction that please connect it to an Outlook server that sends email, right? It would then guide me. It would then say, okay, do you have the password and the email address and the port number? I will go back to my IT guys. I will say, can you give me all these details? They will give it to me. I'll plug it in. And it will then actually start sending emails to my company server, right? So all those things are possible. But at certain points, you would interface with people who would be actually owning those systems within your company for you to integrate with them. But all the technical possibilities are there, again, based on simple English commands. So it is saying that it's done the copy button. And let's go back to somebody else. Let's go back to medium risk. Okay, and there's an email thing here which takes me here. And I say, okay, I want firm because it's medium, it's not low. So let's try that. Okay, and it's come up with an email here. And did you see that? So it's created a copy button right here. And I'm going to test it. I'm going to click it. Okay, it says copied. And I can just paste it here. I'm not actually going to kind of send it because it's not a prompt. But you can see, right? It copied it, and I was able to paste it. I could have pasted it in my email as well. So you can see that, there was one little feature that I wanted that was missing. And all I had to do was ask, right? And it got given to me. So it's as simple as that. Now, we've tested it. And now I would like to try bringing in my own data, right? And what I have done in that data file is I have got kind of alphabets from, instead of customer names, from A to S, I think. So just to kind of make it easy to spot, I'm going to try and bring that in. Okay, and auto detected. Okay, so this is going, okay, it's manually making me interesting. Okay, so that's the way to do it. So I'm mapping it, right? But I could ask for it not to make me do it manually, right? Because this, I would expect, should be automated. But I'm just going to do it this way for the moment. Last payment date, region. Okay, currency code. Do we have a currency code here? Don't have a currency code. Okay. Okay, let me just try this. Let's see what happens, right? So 19 rows, 12 trees mapped, import 19 records. Let's just see what happens. But I didn't like that in particular. So I would have kind of wanted to then, go back and say, can you map these fields intelligently yourself. I mean, after all, you are AI, right? So just figure things out. Don't ask me to kind of manually map things. Not in this day and age, right? I don't want that. So top 10 customers, if I go to my customers list, if I go here, I have, okay. How do I see all the customers? Okay, so I have a question. I'm confused. Where do I see all my customers, right? So what I'm going to do is, instead of kind of wasting time clicking around, I will ask the question here. Where can I see a list of all my customers, right? So there are various possibilities. Maybe it's obvious and I'm not seeing it just now. And maybe it has built it but not linked it, or maybe it forgot to build it, right? So we're going to find out. You can find this on the API ledger page. Okay, makes sense. This page allows you to view, search. Okay, so it's answered my question. So I'm going to go API ledger page. AR ledger page, right? So we have all the customers listed here. And as you can see, these are the ones with the alphabets. These are the ones that I imported, right? They just have the same numbers. But this is a successful import that came in. All the emails were the same. I just wanted to keep it like that so it differentiates itself from the actual test data that base 44 created. So that's my data coming in into the application. And it was based on the foresight of feeding that into ChatGPT to create the super prompt so that when we have the application, it just can eat your CSV and, kind of digest it instantly, right? So that's how you would create an application from scratch. And I don't know, Sheldon, how long did that whole process take?
Thank you for that. So today it was, oh, you can't see it because of the thing. It's 38 minutes exactly from the point that you started with the first prompt. Now, you do have a little bit of experience, but realistically speaking, to go from 40 minutes to less than an hour is really doable. One more question that came in, now that everything has been done, are we restricted to launching this internally in my organization, or can I share this with certain clients or certain external participants, for maybe an auditor or a collection agency, something like that?
Yeah, so that's a great question. The first thing you would do then, once your application is ready, is you would publish it, right? So there's a button right here. You can just literally, so there's a security scan that can be run as well, right? Also in conjunction with more technical people in your organization, they can kind of understand what happens through that. So I won't do it right here, but basically what it does, it checks your kind of fields and just makes sure that they're not publicly accessible. So there are tools in here that would actually prevent that. But then you would publish the app, and then to kind of back to your question, Sheldon, once you have the app published, then you can share the link to it, right? So you can see the app is opening up, and then you can share the link. So the link that is coming up here, you can share that with the people you want to share it with, and they can log in, they can sign up. As you can see here, they can log in with Google. You can also set, so if I just go back here, you can get them, you can set it up. So if I just go here, so this part is kind of base 44 specific. This is not part of the application. But if you go in your settings and you go in authentication, you can switch on the ability for Outlook, people using the Outlook accounts to sign in, Facebook to sign in. So this is the way other people can sign into your application. And what they can do within your application is something that will be defined by the roles, right? So you would then kind of define the roles in your super prompt. You would say, I need a view access for my auditor. And then once that is created, you would actually share the link, the published link, which I just created, with your auditor. And you would, obviously have created that user, and that is literally in here. So you can see I've got my user in here. You would click invite, and you would invite that person as a viewer if we had that role. Right now we have a user and an admin role, but if we had defined that we wanted a view role, which we can still do, it's not like if we didn't do it earlier, it cannot be done now. We could add another prompt, define a view role, and then actually share the URL with our auditor, for instance, and they can log in and they will just get view access. So that's the way giving access to other people would work, and controlling what they can see and do. That is how it would work.
That's really, really amazing. This is the work that I would do in the past. I used to do manually, writing up my design documents where I would go ahead and define all of the data tables, all of the user interfaces, how validation works, user stories. and then pass it to the developer. This is really, really an exciting time in our field, and yeah, this is really, really wonderful.
Indeed, it's magical. There's nothing short of magic if you think about it, right?
Yes, for sure. I have another question. If I want to get the source code and deploy on my own domain, how would I do that?
So you would be able to go here, okay? So you can export the project to GitHub. So GitHub is kind of a repository. It's kind of more techie stuff. So your kind of technology colleagues would understand it and they will be able to deal with it. But if you push stuff there, your code goes to GitHub, and then they can pull it from GitHub and actually do more things with it in terms of enhancing it, connecting it to the internal business systems. You can also export it as a zip file. You can literally download it as a zip file and hand it over to whoever you want to hand it over, who can then look at all the source code and make further changes or improvements or anything like that. So you have all the control. This is all your stuff. The code is not visible to you as a finance user, but it has been generated, so it can be handed over to your colleagues in IT, who can then do more things with it.
Thank you. All right.
Any other questions?
I have not seen any more. Let me just double check. No, we've covered pretty much everything, all of the questions that came in. So this is really, really wonderful. Thank you very much. Now, what have we built so far, Mahmood? So what did we build?
Yeah, so what we built, if you really think about it, right, if we zoom out, we have a centralized accounts receivable database, aging dashboard. We saw the buckets, right, 90 days and above, and 30 to 60, all of those. We have a collections agent, right, which is writing emails for us based on the risk level. And hopefully that will give us a great tool for improved cash collection. So I think within an hour, literally 45 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, Sheldon, we were able to accomplish the promise that we made. And that is where we are today, right? In this day and age, this is really the state of the art. This is where the game is. However, there's more to it, right, Sheldon?
Of course there is. So what's missing? So now we have this really incredible app. Let's go to our new application, because there's more things that we have to consider. In our next slide. So what is missing? Well, in order for any application, any customization to be valuable to an organization, there is more criteria. So if you want to use this as one single independent, something that's independent, you import, with data that you have access to, that's all fine. But really what we're missing now, we're missing governance. Like, how are we going to build trust throughout the system? Prompt engineering, as you see, there was a lot of discussion and many questions on really how do we improve and make efficient prompts, so that we minimize ambiguity. How are we going to analyze all the work that we've done? What are the KPIs? Is there any feedback loops that we can leverage in order for continuous improvement? Really managing that whole AI life cycle, ensuring that, again, continuous improvement, continuous growth. The industry is moving very, very quickly, and it's imperative for us to be able to keep up. And things like resource kits, where you keep on equipping your teams with updated templates, and so that they can keep on learning and keep on adopting to new methods. So next slide. Folio 3 has established some packages that we can help you with. So we have packages that focus on project support. So let's say, for example, you've started something and you want just some support in there. We can come in there and help you with some outcomes. There could be some training. So we have masterclass training with those similar to Mahmood, who will go ahead and train users on vibe coding, all the advanced tools, reusable templates. And then we have another program where it's training and building and really getting into the nitty-gritty of all of the facets of vibe coding. Now, of course, every industry is different, every organization is different. So we can go ahead and we can also customize something that's good for your organization. So with that, let's get, if there's any last minute questions, we'll look at that, and then we'll go on to our closing. Would AI cannibalize Folio 3 or reduce demand for software service companies? So this is a question that I get from a lot of my colleagues, okay, is how does this going to affect our workforce within professional services? I have my perspective, but Mahmoud, I would love to hear your perspective.
So I think, if you go back, I suppose, decades in terms of how technology has evolved. I have a lot of ERP experience, and I remember the day when SAP projects used to be multi-million pound, multi-year projects. There was no concept of cloud, right? There was server rooms. And that whole world changed, right? Then came cloud, then we have kind of NetSuite, cloud first solutions that came in. And all those changes always kind of raise those questions, right? In the relevant circles that, is this kind of radically going to affect the workforce or whatever organization? It could be consultancy, it could be a technology company, it could be the provider itself. But the thing is that these changes are just part of the technology landscape. And I think what we're seeing now is not a specific change in software development. I think we are seeing a very far-reaching change in absolutely everything in terms of AI enablement. So I think, the whole world is changing. There's no easy answer. I don't think it's just a matter of whoever adapts quickly will definitely not only stay, but win, right? I think there's a lot of opportunity. There are a lot of doors opening up through the power of AI. They're just different doors, right? They're not the same doors as before. And it's just a matter of kind of, grabbing the handle, opening that door and walking through. That's what I think.
I'm completely aligned with you. I mean, as a consultant for over 25 years, I've learned new tools, new tasks have come into play, other tasks have gone away. So yeah, I don't believe that it's going to, cannibalize anybody. I think what it's going to do is going to make them far more efficient. And again, the ability to work with their clients in a really effective and valuable way. So that's my thought on it as someone who's been a consultant for quite a long time. Another question is how we'll be able to handle the backend and database once it's set up in a local system. So is this designed to function within a local system? And if so, how do we handle the backend and database?
Right. So that's a great question. So out of the box, Base 44 and several other tools, not all of them, but several of them, such as Lovable as well now, and Replit since a while, they have their own built-in databases, right? So you could literally, as we demoed, you could publish the app and it would work, right? And it would kind of have your data integrity within the database that Base 44 would host for you. So it would just kind of work like that. However, you could also host it independently, right? So you could give it like that GitHub root or the zip file. You could give it to your IT bots, and they would then just kind of take care of it, and they would host it on a database that they are comfortable with, that meets all the IT security policies of your organization. And so it is possible to deploy this code on your own infrastructure, or just use Base 44 if you want to use it in a more kind of casual, casual way, if you like. So both options are there.
So again, it's focused on the user and the intent.
Right.
Excellent. Great. So I think that's about it for the questions. Unless anybody else has any more, we can go to the next slide.
Last call. Any other questions?
It's okay. You can follow up. So the next steps for us is well, first of all, thank you very much for joining and taking your time today. And we like to say that the power to build is in your hands. We now have those tools that we can take an idea and instantly turn it into something that we can use for ourselves. And not only that, but continue to develop ourselves as leaders within the industry or within our organizations. I would encourage you all, you're going to receive copies of this webinar, the slides, the video is going to be published as well. And I would highly encourage you to visit our website for more information on our packages, what our team does within the AI space and in how we can be a further help to you and your organization to create something spectacular, valuable, efficient, and that's yours. So with that, I want to thank you all so very, very much for for Mahmoud, my guest. You are incredible and truly a leader. I count on you for pointers, and I would encourage anybody else on the call, feel free to reach out to Mahmoud as well. I'm sure he'll be able to answer your questions. So with that, we'll close the seminar. Please go visit our website, and we're going to put it quickly into we can put it into the chat for one quick second if anybody is able to see that. Otherwise, I wish you all a pleasant afternoon and evening, and we'll see you for the next session in this continuing series of empowering non-coding users. Thank you so much, and have a great night.
Thank you. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Sheldon. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Take care. Bye now.
Bye.